Hello, beautiful, beautiful humans. I am so excited that you are listening to this episode. I hope it brings you encouragement. I hope it brings you clarity and truth and just uplifts you wherever you are right now and whatever you are facing. Today's scripture reads, Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. James 1, verses 2 through 3. The title of this episode is The Reason You're Here, meaning the reason you are here. Now, in this episode, I wanted to share a little bit more vulnerably about some of my struggles and things that I experienced. And all of these kind of culminated in making me come to realizing the reason why I was here. And I'm so grateful and thankful for that. And I know that God used many people around me and in my life and experiences to point me in the right direction and show me the right way. So thank you for listening. Now let's dive in. So about 2 years ago, I was completely lost. Lost meaning I knew where I was physically and that I was still here and alive and healthy, but I was going through the motions. I was lost spiritually and mentally. I had a deep aching in my heart to return back to where I was supposed to go, or to who I was supposed to be, even though I felt like I had lost that person. I felt so far from the person I used to know, and felt like I would look in the mirror and not even recognize myself anymore. It was weird, really weird. It was like everything inside of me was screaming, "Hey, you're going the wrong way," and "Hey, you're not on the right path." Or even worse, "Hey, there's nowhere for you to go, and this is it. You're going to feel this way forever, so you better get used to it." Whew. Fortunately, my insides were screaming some of the right things, not the thing about being lost forever and never feeling better, but everything else was pretty much on point. I wasn't on the path I needed to be on. I was going the wrong way, and I wasn't sure where I was supposed to go. It got to a point when I no longer wanted to feel this way, or pretend I didn't feel this way, or keep going through the motions anymore. I wanted to soar. I wanted to get myself out of this dark, sticky mess of confusion and sadness and figure out how to get unstuck. I wanted to figure out how to course correct. I wanted to figure out why I was here. Fortunately, I've always believed in faith and had a background of growing up in church. So at this very desperate moment in time, and in a lot of other desperate moments in time that led up to this, I finally decided to pray about it. I decided to give all of these desperate, negative, icky, human, messy emotions and feelings to God and ask Him what to do about it, believing He would answer, knowing that if I just said everything I felt out loud and truly cried out to Him from my heart, that He would be there to love me and walk me through this. If you're ever struggling in a time like this, similar to this feeling of needing someone to listen, let this verse be a comfort. Matthew 7:7 says, Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. This is exactly what I was needing to do in this moment. I needed to ask for answers, find what I was looking for, and have the door be open to receive some kind of way to course correct and listen to what God wanted me to do in this next coming chapter of my life. I didn't want to be confused anymore or know in my heart that what I was doing wasn't right. I wanted to feel like I was walking in perfect step with what God's plan was for my life. I knew that in order to do this, I also needed patience. I needed to be quick to listen and slow to respond, as it says in the book of James. Oftentimes, I feel like if we don't get the immediate answer in a problem or struggle or trial we face, we are tempted to give up or assume that our prayers aren't being answered and our desires aren't being heard. This couldn't be further from the truth. As the saying goes, good things take time. I wasn't able to see it at the moment, but even though I was completely distraught and basically at the end of myself, I was actually right where I needed to be in order for God to get my attention and speak to me to help me out of my mess. I needed to get to the point I was at in order to fully surrender and let Him fully take control of my life, my heart, my direction. Because clearly, doing everything by myself, or even just some things by myself, wasn't working anymore, and arguably never made me fully happy. The first step in figuring out why you're here is just simply surrendering, simply offering your heart in prayer and admitting, I don't have all the answers, Lord. I know you do. I'm lost and I want direction, and I want everything you want for me. I don't want to do this alone anymore. Oh my goodness, I can't tell you. The power I felt when I did this was insane. Although this wasn't the first time I prayed something like this, it was the first time I fully meant it. I didn't want to do this my way anymore. I was all in and fully committed to the process of surrendering. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, lean not on your own understanding. And with this scenario, I certainly wasn't willing to do that anymore. After I surrendered everything, I had to be open to the idea that I couldn't help myself alone. And once that happened, the world became this bright and beautiful light of endless possibilities and love. And I started to truly see a sliver of the truth of why I was here, why we are all here. Have you ever gotten to a point where you've needed to surrender? When you've needed to completely lay down all you have in confidence that the Lord can make it greater than it was before? Have you ever been so lost and confused that you've needed to come to the realization that you need to completely stop everything you're doing and ask for direction because you can't do it alone anymore? Good. This is the best thing that has ever happened to me in my life. When I decided to surrender just a short year ago, everything started changing. The second step in figuring out why you're here is to ask. What? Sounds so simple, right? Well, yes, it kind of is, and it kind of isn't. When you sincerely question with all your heart and start to truly think about everything you want to change, be prepared to wait for an answer. It will reveal itself. You'll start to understand what got you to this point and what inevitably will get you out of it. Where did you go wrong? Where did you stop practicing the things that were once important to you, that were super good for your value system? And what did you replace them with? For me, I realized that in a lot of areas in my life, I wasn't aligning with who I truly was created to be anymore. Instead of doing more of the things that made me feel whole and fulfilled, like writing, creating, spending time outside, hiking, creating deep, friendly connections, exercising, spending quiet time in scripture, I was neglecting these things and putting my worth into the other things of the world. I was filling my time with useless things that weren't going to make me happy. When I realized that continuing to neglect doing those things that were in line with who I was created to be would only get me farther and farther away and make me more and more lost, I started bringing all of those amazing things back in my life, little by little. I went on a hike. I reached out to new friends. I started writing again once a week. I spent more time reading and reflecting and letting myself just be. The first couple weeks were still super messy and chaotic and hard, but little by little, I started to regain my sense of self again and realize that there's a reason all of those things make me feel so good. There's a reason why I love those things, because that's what I was created to experience. I suddenly felt more and more like myself with each passing day. The more time I spent doing the things that made me happy and the things that made my creator happy, the reason I was here was slowly starting to be revealed to me. So what is it for you? Can you think of all the things that you love to do that are also in line with you feeling at your happiest and most aligned with who you were created to be? Maybe it's completely different than mine. Maybe you love to paint or draw or play sports or learn music or also spend quiet time with your faith. So once you identify these things, start to ask, am I neglecting any of these essential keys to my happiness in pursuit of something else that is ultimately not fulfilling? Am I seeking my worth in other things that are external and won't make me happy in the long run? And if so, why am I doing this? I know there's a lot of deep questions in there, but once you truly ask from your heart, the answers will be revealed to you, and you will slowly start to discover where to adjust the ways you spend your time and how you can course correct to start feeling like you know why you're here. To be very honest, I had to change a lot of things, and it wasn't pretty. I pretty much dropped a whole group of friends I knew weren't good for me. I completely changed all the ways that I spent my time that weren't benefiting me and replaced them with happy and healthy habits. I started to uplift myself by uplifting others around me, and that brought me so much joy. I started this podcast. I moved cities. I had to do the most to make sure I was going the direction I was supposed to. I was blessed with close friends who reminded me of the gospel and made sure I knew that there was absolutely no doubt that I would experience true joy and peace and happiness again. I just had to fully commit to the process of healing and growing and changing and trust that it was enough. God was already changing me. Lastly, and I want to be very clear about this, whether you realize it or not, you were created because you are loved. The reason you are here has little to do with anything else in life surrounding your circumstances and everything to do with the fact that you were designed and created perfectly in the image of God, and He has blessed you with your own talents and gifts unique to anyone else on the planet. And if that isn't enough, He has promised that with Him all things are possible. I think it's easy to forget that we're all going through this on some level, whether we realize it or not, and that we need that constant reminder that we don't even need a reason we are here other than that, being loved by our Creator. Whatever we achieve or don't achieve in our time here on this earth, we are ultimately here because we are supposed to embody love. We are supposed to find joy in daily living, trust God when we can't trust ourselves, and support each other in friendship and in fellowship. A verse that I think perfectly sums this up is, "And let us consider how to stir up one another in love and good works," in Hebrews 10:25. I know that this work isn't easy and requires a lot of reflecting, but I can promise you that if you've hit a point of feeling lost and confused about why you're here, this is the true formula to the beginning of understanding and the beginning of healing, the beginning of creating, and the beginning of restoring what was lost. Even if you go into it with the smallest amount of hope and faith, that's all you need. I'm so grateful that we have a God who loves and cares about us enough to rescue us from any circumstance that feels hopeless or impossible to get out of. And He brings us into His sanctuary of love and comfort wherever we are. And that we have each other to rely on to remind ourselves how valuable we really are. I hope today is the day you truly understand why you are here. And if you already do, I hope it's an amazing reminder and that you never stop pursuing the things that you were created to do. I love you all so much, and I can't wait to talk again soon.